It's like being Sherlock Holmes, like being a detective. You've got to collect some evidence and make some assumptions and then test those assumptions with our scientific techniques. Kia ora, my name is Seamus Watson. I'm a scientist in the chemistry laboratory here at ESR. Part of my job, being a food forensic scientist, is we get sent all kinds of different samples, all different kinds of materials and situations that people are facing with trying to determine what has happened to their food. We had a case where cookies were being sold in a transparent cellophane wrapper, and customers walking past the shelves, they could see insect larvae crawling on the surface of these cookies. So we got sent those samples and we need to determine where the insect larvae has come from. We inspected the packaging. Packaging had no holes, and there was no way that we think that the insect larvae could have either crawled from another product onto the cookie or had been laid as eggs by an insect crawling into the packaging and laying the eggs there. What we did was take the cookie and get it under a microscope and break it apart. And what we found was tunnels where insects had hatched from eggs and burrowed out as larvae onto the surface of the cookies. If the insects are burrowing out of the cookie, that pretty much means that the insect had to have hatched from its egg with inside the cookie, which means it was part of the ingredients that we used. It also means that obviously it wasn't baked at a temperature high enough to kill the eggs before they hatched. And it turns out these cookies were cooked at a very low temperature for a very short amount of time, making them quite soft. And so that's what allowed the insects to hatch out. What we could then do is send a sample of the insect larvae to an entomologist, and they reported back to us and said, okay, this is a type of moth. And what had happened was that the moths had probably laid eggs on some nuts. These were included as ingredients in the cookie, and because the eggs were not baked at a high enough temperature to kill them off, they then hatched out of the cookie between the packaging so they could be seen as customers walking past. Food forensics is we're the triaging process that works out how severe is this problem and then who to pass it on to investigate further. Who has the expertise to make the right decisions to keep people safe. I'm a natural problem solver, especially practical problems. Being able to use my expertise and experience, my understanding of chemistry and other sciences to break down a sample and work out how a problem's occurred, I love that. I love being able to help someone, especially if it means keeping someone safe or whether it's improving something where someone gets a really good reaction out of it. That's awesome, I love that. Having a creative mindset in food forensic investigations is really important because we don't know where something has come from, what something is, and we need to use methods that maybe aren't a routine. I have a toolkit of techniques that I can analyse a sample with, and it's how do I do that efficiently? How do I recognise what techniques apply to a certain sample? For people at home who might find something in their food that shouldn't be there or it tastes different than it should, don't be afraid to reach out to whoever you bought it from or the food producer or someone like us scientists. We want to ensure that the food is safe, not only for yourself, but if you reach out, you might be preventing someone else from becoming injured or having a negative health impact.